Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 12. That's right, Dallas. This is 12 more than I thought we'd make it, but we're here.
The Dirty Dozen.
Good, you?
Good.
Man, good guest this week. Your get.
My best friend, former teammate.
We'll see if he reciprocates on the best friend thing, but he's a medalist on the FIB at the youth level, and he's won a couple Norcecas.
He wore cat shorts to a World Championship photo shoot.
I can't wait to ask him about that. He's an owner of a One Volleyball team, owner of the Magnes Spartans.
He is a self-proclaimed model, athlete, and possibly motivational speaker.
Medalist at the Maccabiah Games. Did they win the Maccabiah Games?
They did win the Maccabiah Games.
Sweet. And a member of Crush Volleyball Club, where a bunch of medals there, and he won an OUA title with Queens. We got a real winner on the show. Let's bring him in. Aaron Nusbaum.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on,
I
Aaron.
don't know about a good get, but I'll take it. A lot of accolades you guys throw out there, and seems like a short career, but you guys making me look good. I promise I'm not as good as these guys make me appear, but I appreciate the shout out.
Well, it's good to have you. So I guess fill our listeners in. Where are you in your season right now? How's it going so far with you and Mr. Mike Clintinga?
Yeah, so this season, we're kind of midway through. It's kind of an interesting spot this season. Start of the year, our two goals were, I guess, World Champs first and Pan Am Games second. So for the Pan Am Games qualification process, for those who don't know, it was your best four results, period, from January through actually the end of this weekend, June 16th, which is Warsaw, Poland is the last event right now. So due to that, not entry points, you kind of got to get out there and play. You can play as many events as you want, but the more you play, it could end up hurting kind of your seeding and your entry rankings moving forward. So we ended up playing five. Where did we start? Sydney. We started down in Australia. Went up to Cambodia for a tournament. Where did we go? Malaysia for a one-off. Down to Itapema, Brazil, and we just got back from Ostrava, Czech Republic, about a week ago. So we're off until another month or so. Then we're headed out to Vancouver for the quick weekend for the Van Open, which should be awesome again this year. Looking to improve on our crummy fourth place finish last year. To Edmonton for the inaugural FIVB hosted in the city of Edmonton. That'll be a 3-star event, and late end of July. And then hopefully, pending next week, back home for a day or two, and then off to hopefully Pan Am Games in Lima, Peru.
So you mentioned the qualification process. You mentioned that there's currently a 4-star event going on in Warsaw now. Because our listeners can't see you, you've been nice enough to Skype in. Where in the world are you right now?
I am currently in Toronto, Ontario, in my condo.
Okay, just making sure. No, it's good to hear that.
I'm going to show you Scotiabank Arena right there.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Aaron lives right in Jurassic Park.
You can't tell them where I live. That's a bit creepy.
Wow, in Jurassic Park, that's a fair bit. And you know what? By the time that this airs, the Raptors will have won, so
everyone will be there anyway.
Everyone will be there anyway, so it's not a big issue. But no, it's really good that you've explained pretty efficiently the qualification for the Pan Am Games, and it's good to hear that you guys have put yourself in a position to qualify, and we're rooting for you on this end.
Well, thanks a lot. Yeah, it was something that we looked at last year on the schedule, and when the dates came out for the tour for this season, we saw the overlap of the 4-star in Tokyo and the 5-star in Vienna. So our thoughts are that our two top teams right now, the Sams and Grant and Ben, aren't looking to do that because you would take away, especially from the 5-star, in terms of 6-star value points for the Olympic qualification process. So it looks like those teams are likely to turn it down.
You mentioned your schedule from the start of the year until July, and you've mapped it out pretty efficiently. What goes into prepping an international schedule with your partner, with your coach? How do you manage that, and how do you determine tournaments to add, tournaments to omit, and tournaments that you thought were a good idea at the time, and you have to take them away sort of as you go?
Yeah, there's a lot of planning and modifying on the go, especially when points come into play and money, etc. We looked at when we sat down at the end of last year, we had to think 14 international events on the year, which is a lot of events for even main draw teams over the world. So we kind of broke it down. We're like, okay, 10 would be extremely good, and 8 would still be solid. And in the first half of the season, we're going to look at getting at least 4 because that's what we need for Pan Ams. And we end up doing a 5th because after Brazil we didn't qualify and we needed a bit of more of a point bump. So we kind of we're in the second half where it's like we're not going to bust our butt to go to tournaments, fly to China to play a qualifier and a 4-star kind of thing. We're going to get back in the gym for a good month, rest our bodies a little bit, build up some strength, and get back out there for obviously Edmonton, hopefully Pan Ams, and then just kind of wait and see what the fall brings. I heard the FIV schedule is released in June for September onward. And by the time we end up playing Edmonton and hopefully an event in the fall or two, it's going to end up being 8 or 9. And I know at the end of last year, we were pretty burnt out. We flew to China or China, Asia in general, 3 different times just on a week and back. And Mike's got the kid now and other life pressures, and it's we were just kind of full tilt last year, fully on the gas, and this year I think we learned from that, and this year we're kind of retracting that. And to your point about points and money, Dallas, it's not too much about money. If you're all in it, you'll find the money to do it, and you'll hopefully be qualifying a little bit and making some money back on it. But a lot of people don't play the point system the best of their ability. What's new in the past 2 years, I believe, is it's your best 4 of 6 counts for entry and seeding points versus it used to be 6 of 8. So with that smaller window of revolving tournaments for entry and seeding, teams can drop a very good result quicker than they used to be able to. So you'll see a lot of teams this year. It happened in Warsaw, it happened in Ostrava, will pull out the week or two before a tournament because they realize that they're dropping one very good result right before entry points come out for a bigger tournament down the line.
Right.
For example, Stad 5-star, there's a bunch of teams that pulled out of Warsaw because they realized if they didn't get a 5th or higher and match the point total that they'd be dropping as the next result, then they'd be in contention for maybe being on the qualifier versus the main draw kind of thing. So most teams, especially main draw teams more experienced, will use this to their advantage and spot pick their tournaments where they want to do well. With the 5-stars being actually worth 6-star value points and world champs being worth 8-star value points, what you really have to avoid is in these 4-stars, which are the same quality as 5-stars and world champs, is playing too many in a row before another major comes up. Because the major series are where you can get those big extra points, and then they can sustain you throughout the next 3 or 4. But if you play 6 4-stars in a row, right, and you get 9th place finishes, let's say, which is still top of the pack, you're averaging 200 as a team, which means 1,600 total for your 4 results, which wouldn't put you in the main draw anymore. Right. So that is the new standard. If there's only 4-stars, but teams burn themselves out on too many 4-stars, now their entry points are dropping a lot. And they're actually they don't have enough points to get into main draws now because other teams are hanging on to their Continental Cup stuff. I know the Asia finals just went down. Ours is at the end of the year kind of thing. So people have big results, 300 plus results from these events, and that's keeping them at higher points than teams that are consistently actually playing and getting 9ths and 5ths kind of thing on the 4-stars. So you got to be careful. I look at entry rankings, and a team like Dopplerhorst, steady team, been around 10th in the main draw. They always do well in Vienna and the Austria events, but currently they're sub 1,500 points, which is crazy. They've been getting a 25th to 17th in the odd 9th, but that's actually dropping them out of contention of the main draw now. So I'm sorry to ramble about all this, but
no, it's really informative, and I'm glad you obviously have the brain that's needed for sort of mapping out your events. Speaking of Dopplerhorst, they just won a gold medal on the FIVB World Tour, the 1-star.
They did. They won the Baden.
They won the Baden.
I'm not surprised. They're definitely the favorites there.
It's almost like they made it for them.
Well, it's good for sponsors and all that, right? It was actually a pretty loaded 1-star tournament because it doesn't hurt you. It's just a continental event, so it only counts if it helps you kind of thing. So I played it, and those guys should be winning that tournament, even with the good European teams there and everything. But oh my God, what a 1-star tournament! Did you see the venue and all the stuff?
Yeah, I
just
played
about 2,000 people at center court at a 1-star.
Yeah, the 1-star in Brazil that I played in was similar to that, but not nearly sort of as big of a scale. But it was slammed, which is awesome to see, even at a 1-star event.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the plan for them, I think they just hosted like U20 CEVs, or they had some event there, and I guess the promoter decided to leave the venue up, which I think is a great idea for promoters to kind of get the most out of those events. I think if Canada was to do it, I think multiple events in a row would make the most sense.
Yeah.
I'm creating my own segue here because you've been lucky enough to play in Canada a couple times. You were one of the lucky guys who got into the Quebec event in a country quota with Sam Pedlow, I think you played with, right?
Oh my God, yeah, that was a while ago.
And you also played in Halifax. So what are you looking forward to, I guess, playing in Edmonton? Actually, who was your partner in Halifax?
I can't remember. wasn't Dal. It was Grant. Dal was playing with Garrett.
Oh, okay, shoot.
But who was your partner in Poland?
Well, Dallas was my partner in Poland.
And how did we do in Poland?
Not very good.
So what are you looking forward to playing on home soil again? This will be...
Yeah. Well, Quebec that was a while ago. That was kind of like a shell shock environment, going from OVA Saturdays at the beach, and all of a sudden you're on this like massive venue with side courts and everything's more official. And you know, when you go out of the OVA and you play on the international events, like all of a sudden the court feels a bit smaller and the net feels a bit higher and all these other things, right? So experience-wise, there it wasn't like playing in front of a home crowd because we just played one CQ match.
And it's in Quebec, so it's in a different country.
On a Tuesday, right? And what?
I said, and it's in Quebec, so it's in a different country.
Right. And well, not yet. Soon to be, maybe, you know. But you know, I didn't really get that home experience. It was a travel, but it wasn't like something, you know. It wasn't noteworthy in terms of experience playing at home, kind of thing. And I think the tournament ended up turning out okay. Like center court was pretty massive once they got it going, and I know Sam was playing with Mav at the time, and I think Ben might have been there. I'm not sure. Can't even remember. It was like 2010 or 2011.
I think it was 2011.
I can't remember, but Halifax was a bit different. Still at the youth level, under 21s when we were, I think, 19 or 20. Definitely gives you a bit of an edge. I know you watch Perusic and Schwiener the other weekend in Ostrava. You know, got the Czech guy, the Czech touch team, who has that sometimes at next level. But watching them play on that home turf and watching the energy from the crowd, just like it just somehow makes you a better player. Like Doppler Horse playing at World Champs, it was just they couldn't miss, kind of thing, right? It gives you that kind of extra energy. So I'm hoping the crowd and the energy in Edmonton is something of the sort, because I hope all of our matches should be on center court. No, at the end of the day, it can be a distraction to keep in mind. A lot of family and friends around, and people want to, take pictures with you and autographs versus a regular FIVB where you're kind of doing your own thing. No one's really pulling at you for your time. So you got to kind of manage it that way. And I know we don't have a lot of experience with that because we don't host a lot of events, but definitely looking forward to it. I know I have some my parents will be coming out as well, all the way from Miami. And I know with the One Volleyball League, their finals are happening on that weekend as well, from the East and the West meeting up and playing a finals match. So definitely looking forward to it. Had it marked on the calendar as soon as that was released last fall. Just hope it's like kind of electric kind of thing. And I don't know how big the stadium's going to be or anything, but just I hope the fan engagement's there and they're just cheering for good volleyball for the most part.
Yeah, super best friend of the show, Ben Saxon, talked about how he is really excited to have that sort of environment. Obviously, going to school in Edmonton, being from Alberta, do you think you're going to get the same sort of reception being from the GTA, even out in Edmonton?
I mean, I hope so, unless we're playing Ben. I think the volleyball community is pretty tight-knit as a whole. And although I'll for sure be cheering for Ben, and for those people who are still associated with Ben and people from out there, I think it's just great for the sport as a whole to be played in Canada, and for those fans to get to experience that.
So how many times have you played in the Van Open? And to you, is that probably the best domestic tournament we have right now?
For sure, by far, the best domestic tournament we have by far. It's fantastic. It's, there's always some things that could be better, right? But for a 2-day tournament on a weekend, Kitts Beach, which is gorgeous, they got the center court going. Last year was amazing. They had 2 down refs. Sorry, they had a ref for every match. So you didn't have to self-ref or anything. You had to do score or whatever, but they had a ref for every match. And they changed it from double elim. They changed it to the same as FIVB, so modified pool play, round 1, round 2, and then quarter semifinals. So it ended up being 3 matches a day, like Saturday, Sunday, which is like, still a lot, but it's not outrageous for a 2-day event. And it's just crazy down there. During the weekend, it's packed full of people. I think the stadium was maybe 500 people, and plus the beer garden on the side, which gets wild on Saturday afternoon and Sunday. It just brought a lot of people out. It gives you a sense of community there, and they got that big sponsor. I forget what the sponsor was out there. Any idea, Dal or Josh? They brought in a bunch of money, and they put it towards building the stadium, and some pretty big prize money for a weekend tournament, $7,000 for the winner, which is, nothing, not to bat an eye at that. So I look forward to playing out there. It's a great weekend. I can see my buddies from Vancouver and play in front of them as well.
Yeah, shoot, you're right. We should know the sponsor because they made a great event even better, right? Because now there's a screen, there's bleachers, there's more prize money. But yeah, I can't think of it off the top of my head.
It's funny because I heard that same sponsor is looking to invest in a podcast. So I think we should know the name. I know that Dunbar Cycles was a big sponsor of theirs.
Yeah,
I know that a lot of like BC-based companies like Sunripe and Lulu and other companies like that have gotten involved with them.
There's one more.
But I don't remember who the title sponsor was. I didn't play in the Van Open last year. I think I was in Quebec playing a Grand Slam event out there. But I think you're right. I think the Van Open is definitely the best domestic event in terms of level, in terms of fan engagement, in terms of execution with the jerseys and with the fans and with the players and the atmosphere. I definitely think everything else is second to the Van Open.
For sure, and I don't know what the Grand Slam will bring in a week and a half, or even provincials here gets a bit rocking, but at the organizational level there, and it's really well done. There's not a doubt at any time during the weekend kind of what's going on and who's doing what. I just looked up that sponsor, by the way, Natura.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hear they got a good market for a podcast.
Presented by, so you may want to drop a line to them.
But you talked about this earlier, just to sort of go full circle. You mentioned the One League, and we talked about this with super best friend of the show, Ben Saxon, last week. You actually own a team in the Toronto One League. Why don't you tell us how that got started and what your involvement is currently with them?
Yeah, for those who haven't heard of the One Volleyball League, it's a league that started a few years ago now. I think we're in year 3. It's just a summer league. It's about 8 weeks long, comprised of just some general games, just 6 matches, 2 against each team kind of thing over the season, and semis and finals. And it was just kind of the idea of Jackie and Joe to bring together kind of like a pro league that hopefully over time would build up some money and start paying some players, and kind of have a bridge for athletes from the OUA or the OCAA who are in between playing pro or coming back for the summer kind of thing. And it's turned into a pretty good high quality league that's now in year 3, running out of now the GTA. It used to be just Kerr Hall or Mattamy at Ryerson, downtown Toronto, but we're trying to move the product around and get it to other parts of the GTA and get more demographics involved that way. So we'll see, and we'll reevaluate at the end of this year, kind of if it worked, if it didn't work, and what the best course of action is, kind of thing. But it was a passion project initially, right? It was just like, oh, this will be fun kind of thing. I was super excited about the live draft and drafting potential players and making super teams of all these ex-OUA and pro players kind of thing. So it's really quite the scene. It's turned into kind of like this cult and kind of family kind of ordeal where all the volleyball people community are now getting together again, and it became a platform for them to express themselves and talk with one another and socialize and all these things. So it's been really good for the sport. I think it's been good for the youth who have been involved or know of it through the provincial championships, the 4 weekends at Rim Park, and all that. I think it's been really good for the youth, and I know a lot of youth players now look up and have role models for themselves in volleyball and moving forward. So it's been really good, and slowly but surely, a few sponsorships here and there rolling in, kind of thing, to help get the league off the ground, or my team specifically. With me owning a team, it's not really too much hands on. I did coach it year one, and after that, I said no way. I'm just too busy with Beach and too many filling coaches. So I just run the infrastructure and, let's say, the day to day behind it. Just make sure everything's involved. Got Wayne Wilkins on board, the Humber coach, as my coach this season, and locking down gym space and just making sure everything runs smoothly for the most part. And I just show up to matches and cheer on the team and just be a part of the community.
So what was the thought process for you in terms of why did you decide to get involved, and why did you decide to buy a team?
It's a tough question. As I said, it was merely just a passion project when I started. I was like,
a passion project for you, right?
For me,
Okay.
I was like, you know what? I'm not going to make. This is year one. Like, for the cost, it's not a huge cost to incur to see what happens. Essentially, I had the money. I just came off working a little bit at Investors Group, and I was like, you know what? Let's see what happens here, and let's spin my tires in the mud and see how far we can go, kind of thing. So, year one rolls around, and put in some money, and I got a bit of sponsorship money, and let's say I didn't lose a lot. I didn't lose a lot of money, just my time on organizing gym spaces and all that stuff. Had a great experience. So I was, happy to come back for round two, and more of the same. And then, from a business perspective, we're like, okay, we got to make some changes, kind of thing. We got to grow this thing a bit more. And then year three, same thing. We're super fired up. Some new changes going in. We're experiencing some athletes are coming and going. Some athletes have long pro seasons and their bodies are banged up, or they're getting contracts in California or stuff for the summer or whatnot. So it's a bit of a revolving door that way. But it's just been another thing in the volleyball world that for me to be a part of. Since I went full-time Beach, since the OUA. Queen specifically, just kept my foot in the door on that side of things, and I just like to be involved in the growth of volleyball community in general, and not only provincially but domestically as well.
You mentioned like how high level the league is. Is there any player that you've been really impressed with over the last couple of years, like just being able to see them live every week?
I mean, there's a bunch of there was a bunch of top players in the league, in my opinion, for the past, especially in year one and year two. I mean, I had never really seen Steve Hunt play until year one for the most part, and I was like, whoa, shit, like, you can really tell, like, there's guys that can hit the ball hard and do all these good things, and then there's players that have a bit more of that next level, where the IQ is a bit higher, the contacts are a bit better, the positioning is a bit better, leadership skills, whatever it is, right, is just better than everyone else's, and it shows on the court when they win back-to-back titles, and he doesn't play for half the season and then shows up in the playoffs and absolutely dominates with probably 25 points in 4 sets, kind of thing, just like out of this world kind of thing. Ray Zito's also up in that category too. He's got the ability to take over games. I think he had 35 points in his last match in the California League he was playing in. It was actually unbelievable. He had like 27 kills on 45 swings and 2 errors or something. So he's one of those players as well that has that ability. And funny fun fact, he never played prep volleyball. He just went straight to York University from Sutton High School.
Sutton District High
School. Straight to York University, played for Wally, and now he's a pretty good indoor player, which is pretty crazy. So
former roommate of friend of the show and co-host Alice Key.
Exactly. So I guess the other 2 notables from that draft were Taylor Hunt as well, purely exceptional player. He had really good skills and ability to really take over matches. And Jory Mantha, I know people know of him, Ottawa boy, played for the Mavs. When he's got it going too, he's not an overly tall guy. I think he's only 6'2", 6'3", but he definitely gets up there and knows how to put balls away, and led his team year one and year two. So those were kind of 4 superstars, I think, that were. Oh, and obviously can't forget Terrell. Can't forget the way Terrell plays offensively, especially at his net play in offense is extremely, extremely good. I mean, he does touch over 12 feet. I think he touched 12-1 2 months ago at the Athlete Showcase on a nonchalant jump for the most part. So when you're touching that high, definitely makes things a lot easier.
It's also cool to see that a lot of these guys are using that platform to elevate themselves. You talked about how all these guys are obviously doing really well on their pro contracts. And to mention another friend of the show, Joey Jarvis, who was on your team, used his performance in the one league to sort of parlay a Team Canada tryout, and now he's with the full-time training center.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention him. I'm glad you brought him up. This kid was like 20 years old when I first saw him in 2017 at the very first One Premier League Challenger tournament out in Scarborough Pan Am Center. This guy he was doing it all. And I was like, who is this guy? I've never heard of him. And they're like, oh, yeah, it's Joey. I'm like, how old is he? He's 20. Oh, okay. So went and talked to the guy. Super nice guy, down to earth. Picked him up as like third or fourth round in year one, and everyone's like, huh? Like, who is that kind of thing? I mean, he's been a steady starter. He's about 6'4", 6'5", jumps extremely well, has actually the ball skills that you wouldn't see out of someone who really hasn't played a lot of rep volleyball or has had a lot of coaching kind of thing. And he was one of my studs last year on my team offensively and just all around. And turns out he shows up to the national team tryout and makes the B team this summer. So couldn't be more thrilled for him. Like, super excited to see that this league has really brought up his equity, so to speak, and his overall game, and all the best for him moving forward. We're sad to see him go. Obviously, it was going to be one of my keeper picks, bring him back to the team this year, but I think there's bigger and brighter things ahead for him, and he's super young, and watch out for that name down the road if you're a Volleyball Canada fan.
So just kind of switching gears here a little bit, you've played in the Maccabiah Games twice. I think you were an indoor player and then beach last time. Do you think that multi-sport games is going to be a good experience if you guys are the team to go to Pan Am?
Yes, in terms of for myself, I understand the kind of distractions and everything that comes with a multi-sport game. It's unlike a normal tour event or any other event you go to, because you have the opening ceremonies and the sightseeing tours and this media thing and that media thing, and I want to go watch other sports do this and blah, 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 right? So you kind of have to focus on yourself and do what's best for you as a team. Yeah, I don't know if for Mike, if we ended up going, I don't know if he's been to really any. I think I would consider OSGs as one that I've also been to. And
he went to FISU in Shanghai.
FISU,
yeah.
Right? So he's kind of has a deal about it. I think I'm not really sure what the level from Pan Ams to these other multi-sport events we've been to. I think it'll be obviously a bit bigger and more kind of like a little bit overwhelming. I think what you'll notice, the biggest thing is that actually on the volleyball side, when we watched the Commonwealth Games, when Sam and Sam were there, and Mel and Sarah, and even when Josh and Sam were playing Pan Ams in Toronto, it just has that bit more of like a next level feel to it. And I think the teams that win or perform the best are able to adapt to that different sort of pressure. I really don't know how to explain this. Different sort of pressure that the multi-sport games kind of brings. I'm watching Sam's in Commonwealth, and I don't think by far it was their best kind of in terms of just performance. Overall, there was a feel to it that felt like there was something inhibiting them from feeling like they were fully free and fully playing to their best ability kind of thing. So I don't know what that feels like, and I'm curious other than Maccabiah a little bit, but I think the Pan Ams would be that next level, and I'm curious what it feels like and how we're going to react kind of from pool play day one.
That's a good point. There's a lot of sort of unknowns that happen with multi-sport games in terms of the media and the hype and just the whole atmosphere of having all those different sports going on at once. Is there one sport in particular you want to take a look at, or do you know any other athletes being involved in the Canadian Sport Institute that are going to go to Pan Ams that you've made friends with and you want to go and watch or support?
I don't know if any names are actually official for any of the Pan Am sports to start with, but
a few of them have come out actually. The wrestlers, the gymnasts, a few of the larger teams have come out. I think Beach Volleyball was actually one of the last teams.
Okay, their process is done.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I haven't really marked anything down, and I haven't really seen many schedules. in terms of that. I know there's 2 different phases. There's like the first 10 days and the second 10 days. So I don't think we'd even be there for the full time. But I think I would definitely want to check out the wheelchair basketball if actually I don't know if that will overlap actually with the Pan Ams. But that was something, if I'm around, I would like to see live for sure. And also I think archery, I think, is something I'd be interested in looking at. I watched a bit of, what was this, Invictus Games back in, was it spring of last year or fall of last year?
Fall last year,
I watched some of the archery down at Fort York, and it was pretty wild. They had like 30 rows lined up and targets, and they had people swapping in and out and different timings and different lengths and stuff. I was like, holy crap, this is actually pretty crazy. That to me, that's a crazy sport. It's like golf kind of thing, because it all comes down to just the one contact, and that's kind of make or break your score kind of thing. So just the level of detail in terms of focus and awareness going into, every single, program or routine or touch on the bow or wherever it is pretty wild to me. So depending on where things are spaced out around venues and everything, I'll definitely be looking at going to watch.
For sure, and hopefully this isn't wasted and you end up being the team that's nominated.
Yeah, well, our process isn't over. We have 5 days left, but it's just looking good at the moment. So knock on wood. But you'll know probably a week today or so, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully when this is released, we'll know, and we'll be able to add in that we broke the story first.
Hey, if you want, I can pass some dimes on my pants or something.
Yeah, I'd love that.
We can talk about some sponsorship money flowing this way, and some.
No one is gonna serve you if you have pass and dimes on your shorts.
I'll put around the butt.
Yeah, and we're actually gonna have our second podcast, Set and Butter, and that's gonna be on your other leg.
Oh yeah, Set and Butter. That's a good one. There you go. You're getting the hang of this. Sister channel.
It's my sister channel, Set and Butter.
Aaron, I did want to touch on some of your youth stuff. You used to train with, I guess, what was it called? Elite Beach Volleyball Club, where you and Grant were there, and I think O'Need and Felipe and Poldma and Dallas was there. So you guys were the qualifier team for your first Youth Worlds, I think, and you guys ended up riding the wave to a 9th, I think, right? Is that kind of the first time you thought that you could be like a professional beach volleyball player? Was that summer?
That's really impressive, Josh, that you can dig that up and come up with that. You're absolutely correct. We did get a 9th.
Yes.
Next thing you know, we're on a plane. We're in Porto, training a little bit, and it's quality day. We're like, we don't even know what this is about. We've never seen it before. We've never been in a single elimination environment. Like, we don't even know what this is. So I think that actually worked out to our advantage, because we weren't kind of starstruck by it. We weren't in our heads about it. We were just skilled kids at that point. I can show you the video. Skinny 6-foot kids out on the beach just having a good time, essentially. So yeah, we went through the qualifier day. It was 3 matches, so I guess they kind of miscalculated the number of teams that were showing up. We had 3 matches. I think Slovenia, USA, and Latvia. Two of those which went to 3 sets. Qualified and end up winning our pool. Spain, New Zealand, and I can't remember the third team. And then we lost round 2 to Russian team, who ended up getting second at the tournament. They got a silver medal. They beat Garrett and Nick in the semi as well. So that was like our first kind of like, whoa, wow, like, are we really kind of actually this good and on a world standard kind of thing? And at that time, playing under 19s, you can get away with things, and even under 21s, which we've proven, you don't have to be as big, especially on the beach, to have success. And I think a lot of youth athletes that are playing now, or people, men that are my size on the beach, or the ladies. I know there's a lot of excellent women defenders out there. Heather's one of them, who's won Defender of the Year multiple times. Not a tall player at all, kind of thing, that are really getting it done on the world tour, so the international stage. So that was definitely a great experience going back and going back a year later to under 19s and winning bronze in Croatia was, I guess, our next stepping stone as well.
Look at the memory on this guy. He can tell you who was in his pool, like who was in the quali. Wow.
I got so many things up here. It's actually wild, the facts that I store up in this brain.
It's crazy to think that you're a skinny 6-foot kid back then, and compared to a skinny 6'2" kid right now.
Hey, Watch, you want to arm wrestle later, let me know.
No, I've progressed.
I put on to like 20 pounds. I was like 6'1", 160, man. I was a fluff pull.
You heard it here first. Aaron Nusbaum, self-proclaimed 200 pounds.
No. I know we don't need to talk about weight, but yeah, I was a bit of a pipe cleaner, so to speak. But we were quicker on the court, Grant and I'll tell you that.
That's great, and you've obviously, you've turned that success and those, the top 10 finishes into 2 medals, and it seems that Croatia is the country you do best in, obviously having a bronze and a silver medal at 2 world championships there.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for your time with us on this, and the way we sort of like to wrap things up here is either your fondest memory or the sort of the craziest experience you've had in your beach volleyball career. Obviously, being able to travel the world, you get to be put into some pretty, we'll call it gnarly circumstances. So, can you share sort of your pedigree for the wildest experience you've had on tour?
Man, you're putting me on the spot here. You couldn't have told me this earlier, and
it's the way we roll on Pass and Dimes. Maybe if you want to come on set and butter, you'll be prepped a little bit more.
I've honestly never had anything that's been like when I was listening to yours, Dallas, in Brazil, where you guys got pulled over and thought you were getting robbed. Like, I've never truly had that experience on the road. And,
it's not really something you want.
Not getting knock on wood. I've never really felt like in a place where, or a time of day or it is that I've been scared or something has happened that, I'm kind of shaking over. I know this year when we got to Brazil, people were saying bad things about Brazil late at night and all these things, and the city we were in, I heard, was okay, but we landed at 9 o'clock and we got thrown out of the shuttle, and all of a sudden we're at the side of the road and it's pitch dark out, and we're trying to message an Airbnb host trying to find keys. And I was super nervous. I was like, I flick on my data because I had it on airplane mode, and I was like, I'm calling an Uber. We gotta get the hell out of here, kind of thing. And we're standing on the road for 10 minutes. Cars driving by, people walking by. Nothing happened. It was a really kind of scary feeling to me. I don't know why. Maybe it was on my own head about it, but no. I mean, there's nothing out on the tour that I think that can't be managed, but. If you want a funny story, I can tell you about Dallas and I in Poland in 2000 and oh my God, what year was it? This I can't remember. See, I can't remember years.
This was 2014.
Yeah, we could talk about this, right?
I mean, you don't have to go into crazy details, but yeah, you can.
Let me go into detail. Okay. so we go to Poland for under 23s. We're Can 2. We're in the qualifier. We got absolutely destroyed by Russia. All right, whatever. Move on, right? The tournament wasn't full. This was the year they were running a 48-team or a 45-team draw. I can't remember. And they were running pools of 5. So naturally, the main draw wasn't full. So all the people that were lost round 2 got direct entry. And they started doing draws based on points for who got into the main draw. So sure enough, it comes down to one spot. It's if this African team doesn't show up tomorrow, which was in all likelihood not going to show up if they're not at the tech meeting, you're just going to replace them, and you'll be replacing the tournament. So it turns up it's down to us and another Polish team who's hosting. And, of course, Poland gets drawn. So, you know what? Screw us, right? You don't win, that's what happens. So we're out. And I think Denise Wooding and Charlotte Sider were the other women's team who didn't qualify. So we're like, all right, let's get out of here. Let's go out. We got to go find something to do, right? So we walk into town about 10 minutes. So what town were we? Myslovice?
Myslovice.
Myslovice. Sorry if I pronounce that wrong. And we just head into town for basically dollar beers. Dollars, zlotys, what do they call it?
Zloty, yeah. It was 33-cent beers.
It literally was like $1 maybe for a massive, pints of beer. So, at the end of the day, we're going for it. And it ends up we're there for a while. It's late at night. We start walking home. And, naturally we got to go to the washroom. So there's a big porta potty at the side of the road. And so Dallas jumps in there. I'm okay. I'm waiting. The girls are going, whatever. Dallas comes out and he gives me this look. I'm like, okay, what'd you do? He's like, come in here for a second. I'm like, okay. So I go in the porta potty. It's actually a big porta potty. It's like a handicap one. It was like a massive door and you could fit 2 people in it. And I'm like, yeah, what's the matter? He's like, see? So you see in there? I'm like, no. He's like, drop my phone. Dropped his phone. And I'm like, I look at him. I'm like, okay. He's like, what do I do? I'm like, how bad do you want the phone? He's like, what would you do? I was like, me, I need my phone. He goes, okay. Full on, reaches in. It must have been up to his elbow. He's fishing around for a few seconds. Pulls it out. I'm just in tears. I run out. I'm just in tears crying on the street. The girls are like, what is going on? I can't even tell them without peeing my pants. And they start like screaming and like running away. And so this guy didn't have a great smelling arm for our walk home.
Ditched the OtterBox and the phone was good to go.
And we'll leave it at that. But it just shows if you really want something bad enough, you'll make it happen. So while you were on your phone while you were taking a whiz and ended up dropping in at 2:00 at night, hey, that's on you. But you want something that bad, I guess you got to go dig in and get it.
I mean, the things you learn in beach volleyball, you can use in life, right?
Oh my God, just like holy schmoly. And I won't talk about the other part of that walk home, but that's okay.
Yeah. I don't even remember the other part of the walk home. That's okay.
That's okay. But no, it was a consolation kind of memory for the result that we had in Poland. But that's the way it is out on the tour. You lose more than you win, as a wise man once told me.
We had a shitty time, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, we had a shitty time, and I should have missed my flight the next day, but that's okay. I made it somehow.
Well, Aaron, on that note, it was good to have you on, and we're rooting for you for the rest of the year, and hopefully you guys get that spot in Lima.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me, and hopefully we'll know next week, and super fired up if it happens. Look out for us, hopefully in Peru.
Awesome. All right, talk to you soon.
Okay, guys, later.
Great.
See ya.
Thanks, Aaron.
Bye.
Special thanks to Aaron Nusbaum for joining the show. We can't wait to see who will earn the Pan Am Games nomination next week. Thanks to you, the listeners, Passing Dimes was named on the Top 15 Volleyball Podcast by FeedSpot. Shout out to friends of the show from the first year who also made the list and ranked slightly higher than us. If you haven't already, please check out previous episodes like super best friend of the show, Ben Saxton, friends of the show, Mark Wilson, Seymour and Jody Z, Jesse Elser, Autumn Bailey, Becky Pavin, Jake McNeil, and Eric Matheson. And now, back to Passing Dimes. Woohoo, go Raptors!
Beauty. Thanks to Aaron Nusbaum for giving us a great interview. So we'll keep an eye on everything he's up to. Obviously, Pan Am is the big watch. But One Volleyball League is heating up, and it's neat that they're doing a finals in East versus West. That's going to be great, and that it's tied in with the Edmonton event. I think that just makes it a volleyball palooza this July in Edmonton.
Yeah, it was a little disheartening to hear that they weren't going to play the finals in Brandon, Manitoba, which was the equilibrium point between the East and the West. But this will have to do.
Maybe next year.
Okay.
Couple updates. Canada on the indoor side goes 2-1 again. It looked like Ottawa had a great crowd. We talked about how well they did last year. I think they've outdone themselves with the organizing committee, the amount of people who attended, the volunteers, everything that goes into it. And Canada didn't pull any punches. That was a big boy roster. That wasn't the same roster we saw the first weekend.
No, they brought their guns out, but I don't know. I don't want to be the downer on this, but they did what they needed to do, and they're staying steady. So they bring their big guns out and they stay consistent, and they're a very, very good team, and all the credit to all the guys on that team. But to play devil's advocate, they're doing what they need to do. They haven't really gone above what they need or what they can do. They're winning games they should be winning.
If they would have beat Serbia in 5 there, you think you have a different opinion right now?
I think so. I think that was the possibility of a statement game, especially to win on home soil. I mean, granted, you win 5-6 matches in a row, you can't take that away from anybody, obviously. But I look at their roster. I look at other rosters. They're supposed to win. This isn't a Team Canada that is limping into Norceca's, limping into World League. Like, they're good. So you expect them to be good. They're good.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think it shows how spoiled we are on the indoor side. We've touched on this on the beach side where we get a fifth or a ninth, and it's kind of like, yeah, par for the course, where you're right, the indoor team goes 2-1. That's awesome, where I think you'd be pretty young in these days, but there was times where we missed World League when it was still called World League. Like in the Paul Durden era, it was special when we were still in World League, but now the indoor team's top ranked and they're going for it all the time, right?
Yeah.
So
It's, obviously Norceca is a little bit deeper on the indoor side than it is on the beach side with the States and with Cuba having really good teams. So, I mean, it's not a slam dunk to have them in the Olympics, but they're good. So expect them to be good.
Nice. The women's side is announced. They've got an exhibition match with the USA, which is maybe a nice in from head coach Tom Black, being an American. He's got some ins, so good competition leading into the qualify for them, and hopefully they can look sharp in that one.
Yeah, I think it's a good measuring point. It'll be interesting to see what USA team they put out there. If they do their Olympic roster, I think it's a good measuring point for the Canadian girls to see where they line up. We had Adam on here before talking about what they're doing in their preparations out in Victoria. So it'll be good to see. It's good to see that they won against Mexico again. No real surprise there. I think they did what they needed to do, and they won, and that's about it.
On the beach side, we got Warsaw here. So Ben and Grant are in the main draw. Heather and Brandy are there. Yeah. They're in the main draw as well. And on the women's side for Pan Am, very evaluation friendly. Taylor and Sophie, you qualify, you're in. You don't,
you're not.
You're not. So I think that's all we can ask for this time. We talked about the race since we kind of learned about the qualification, and we've been talking about this since Passing Time started. But exciting finish to both the men's and women's side of Pan Am. And you know what? No matter what, we're going to send a team who's battle tested and ready to go.
Yeah, I think so. And what better way do you want to not subjectively be in a tournament? If you win, you're in. If you lose, you're not. Now go and do it. I think that's the best course of action. And I'm not here rooting for any particular team in the Pan Am, but obviously Taylor and Sophie have a lot of international experience, and I think they would for sure be a medal threat in the Pan Ams.
Definitely. And we got a Norceca to talk about. Darby Dunn and Devin May, podium gold medalists in La Paz, Mexico. Nice.
Out of left field, congratulations to those two girls. Obviously, super best friend of the show, Ben Saxton, with the WECO Bevo beach volleyball program out there supporting them. So it's great to see that WECO essentially helped those girls with their performance. And former partner of mine, Devin Dunn, sister Darby, putting up big numbers at Stetson University, being an All-American there, and qualifying for nationals with the NCAA. It's awesome to see such a good family. And Darby, kick ass, awesome job.
Yeah, coaches at Side Out, so another connection to a friend of the show, Seymour, there. So that they're showing that they're doing great things in that BC community, and I love the prize, the sombreros. That was just a nice touch for the podium shots. Good for them.
Kind of stereotypical.
It's a good gift.
I don't know. Are we going to give them a bottle of maple syrup if they win in Edmonton? I bet you we are.
You got to give a prize with a little local flavor. But
here's
good.
Your beaver tail and gold medal made out of chocolate.
And Iris Fletcher and Abby Thorpe finished 6th at their first Norceca. They are Canada 2, I believe, at the U21. So good for them to get the nomination to go and get some international experience before U21 on the women's side.
Yeah, I think that's a good stepping stone for them. Obviously, at any age group world championships, for a lot of these teams, it's their first exposure to international beach volleyball. Aaron obviously talked about it sometime being an advantage, but I think if you know what to expect with an international event, you come in a little more clear-minded of what you need to do to better prepare yourself to play.
Definitely, and the guys, 2 top 10s, so Liam and Gabe finished 10th. And is this Matt Donovan's first international tournament?
First international tournament.
And he takes a 4th. He's in the semis of a tournament in his first international, so good for him and Fyodor, who I'm going to try, buddy. Kazimiaka?
Yeah, you nailed it.
I got to work on my Russian, my Belarusian.
Your Belarusian. That was Bella terrific, though.
But congrats to those guys. Hopefully a big season ahead now that Matt graduated from Dalhousie, and I think Fido's still working on his PhD, but obviously is making time for some of these summer schedules. So
Dr. Smash is what I like to call him on tour.
oh, that's a good nickname. I wasn't always on board with the Ray Sewell one, but that Fido one, I'm on board with right away.
Dr. Smash.
I'm in. Awesome. So I think we got some local flavor coming up. So I think the OVA Grand Slam or the Quebec event, there's going to be some national teams home for those. And Aaron hinted that he's going to the Van Open. I think there's other national teams. So finally some chances for Canadian fans to see our top teams on home soil, just because there's a bit of I wouldn't say a lull in the international schedule, just there's a bunch of 4 and 5 stars that maybe our next gen teams aren't going to go to, so they're going to play on home soil, and it's going to be great for anybody who's at their local beach to see a great tournament.
We will be at the OVA Grand Slam, so don't be afraid to come check us out and give us your opinions on the show. Obviously, if you like what you hear, be sure to download us on Podbeam and subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Instagram at Passin' Dimes.
Instagram's key. I think we do a great job.
I think you do a great job.
And not just Podbean. I found out that Podbean reaches out. We're on iTunes, Google Play. We're on Safari. Facebook has an app. I didn't even know that. We have. You know what? I'm going to give a shout out to a stranger. Someone from the Northwest Territories is downloading our shows and listening. They're like a weekly listener. I don't know who you are, but you need to leave us a comment because you are a true fan of the show.
Please give us a comment on our Instagram page or shoot us an email because we'd love to have you on to talk about how you found us and how we can better get involved out there. It's awesome to hear that we're Canada-wide.
Canada-wide, we got some U.S. downloads. Feel free to give comments too. We have some international ones. I couldn't figure out if that was just super fan of the show, Ben Saxton, downloading the show when he's on tour, or if we actually have some international flavor. There's so many questions that we have in these analytics we're getting from Podbean.
And according to TJ Sanders, who's also minor super best friend of the show, Iran will win. Shout out to the men's national team who is in Iran for World League, Volleyball Nations League, whatever they're going to want to call themselves. But best of luck to them, and I'm looking on Instagram. Iran will win.
And with that, I think we can wrap up episode 12. Another dandy by the boys here.
We just keep hitting it out of the park. We're batting 1,000. Good.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. And the nicest compliment you can give us is just tell one friend about the show.
And then he'll tell one friend.
And then, bam, we're just going to keep growing, and soon we're going to be in every province and territory across Canada.
Yes, we did it. Bye, Josh's mom.
Bye, Mom.